I thought Head could use a day. He's played every day since we left on the road trip, and I thought he could just use a day.
Is it nice to be able to use that DH spot for some other guys to maybe give them a half day and a little bit of a rest?
Yeah, I think Alex has gotten most of the at bats there, but when we do put him in the field, it gives someone a little bit of a blow and keeps him going.
With his age and with being away from the game for a while, do you worry about him at all defensively?
Alex? No. The last time he played third, he played well. In spring training, he played third well. I mean, he's going to catch it, and he's going to throw it, and he's going to make the right decision with the baseball. I know his range is not what it was at 25, but no one's range is what it was 15 years ago. So, I mean, that's the reality of it.
With Warren, the conditions last time obviously were not ideal. But what do you hope that you see out of him? Do you need to see more out of him than what you saw the prior?
Well, we'd like to get him, deeper into games. And, his last start, it's so hard to judge the last start just because, I mean, it was hard for pitchers to throw breaking balls. It was hard for pitchers to throw strikes. I thought our guys did a tremendous job. But, he needs to get some quick outs and some quicker innings so we can get him deeper in games.
Andrew.
Joe, do you look at if he does tie Willie Mays, is that a milestone in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, 660 home runs. He continues to move up on the leaderboard. I mean, there's going to be a lot of different opinions on this 660 and when he passes Willie, and Barry went through it, and a lot of the guys have went through it. But the reality is it's 660 home runs. And, I don't know what you say, but when you're going to look in the record books, his name's going to be there.
Mark.
Joe, we've talked for so many years about Teixeira being a slow starter. What has it meant for you guys that he's been off to the start that he is?
It's been really important to our offense. There's been some games that he single-handedly has won for us, and his average has started to climb now as it started to get a little bit warmer, but just his run production is so important to us, and I just been able to pencil him in there basically every day in the same spot, not move him around, and it's a switch hitter, so if you want to turn someone around, if you want to not face. If you want to bring in a lefty to face some of our lefties, he's there, and if you want to leave that lefty to get to the next lefty, he's in between, and he does a lot of damage against lefties, so it's really nice to have.
He talked in the spring about how good he felt physically. How much do you think, just being a year plus removed from the surgery and not having to worry about that quite as much as he had in the past, is playing into the fact that he's off to a good start this year?
Oh, I think it plays a lot into it. I think the fact that he was able to have a normal offseason, go home after the year, take the month to kind of relax and do what a player needs to do to kind of physically recharge, and then to in a sense, a winter is somewhat of a rehab of your whole body. But when you're spending it on one area, sometimes you can't do as much in other areas that you need to do, and I think that hurts players.
Right,
Joe, with the bullpen going 4 2/3 last night, might you be tempted to let Warren go a little bit more?
No, I still think our bullpen's okay right now. I'll check with a couple of the guys out there, but our bullpen's in pretty decent shape.
George.
Joe, this is about Beltran. How does a manager balance what he's capable of doing and what he's going through right now?
I think you don't lose perspective that so many players, personally, I went through it, and I was never even close to the hitter that Carlos was. There are months that are tough. And, I think the important thing is that you continue to send him out there and understand that he's going to turn it around and that he's going to be a big part of our offense. And, the one thing I try to manage a little bit is that he's 38 years old, and maybe a day, some of the day games after night games, you might give him off. But I have confidence that he's going to get going, and you just need to keep running him out there.
Sweeney.
Joe, are you ready to name a closer?
I don't know. I mean, we've kind of went with Dellin as the setup guy and Andrew as the closer, but I don't know if I need to officially name it yet. I'll take a few more days, I guess. I don't know.
Would there be? You've used it the same way the entire season. Is there any reason for you not to name it?
No, not really.
Joe, did you have a question?
Just gives me more flexibility.
One more on Mark. Obviously, the power's been there in abundance thus far. Have you noticed any appreciable change in his approach or his swing?
What I've noticed is he's healthy. I mean, that's been the biggest change for me. You know, in a sense, not having to come in to see where he's at physically every day. I haven't had to do that, and it showed up on the field. And the way he's responded, he's been the Mark that we've been used to seeing before he started having some nagging injuries, and obviously the serious one a couple of years ago.
Chad?
Is it still Whitley tomorrow?
Yeah, I really 95% sure that's going to happen unless something crazy happens that I can't predict. He will be out there tomorrow.
He had such a good spring. Was this the plan coming out of camp that you sent him down there specifically for this role? I mean, you line him up where he's, could take this spot in this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we talked about that could be his role, and that we would try to spread out the two guys that were on the roster that had a little bit of experience in that situation, knowing that at some point we're probably going to have to do it this turn and maybe the next turn, and then you see where you're at after that. But we wanted to kind of set it up that way, and we made him aware of that.
Andrew?
Joe, when a guy gets older, what signs do you see that, you said that you expect Carlos to come out of it, but what signs do you see when they don't come out of it, when they're 38, 39, 40, these guys get older?
I think you don't see them hit balls hard. We've seen Carlos hit some balls hard. So obviously, it's still in there. It's just he's going through a hard month. And the hardest part about being an older player is you're going to be asked that all the time. And that's the hard part about being a young player, too, is he ready? Now you get to the other side, was this the end? And you have to deal with it, and you have to learn how to deal with it. And, Carlos will tell you when he's done. It's not our job to tell him when he's done, in a sense. He's going to let us know, but I still think there's a lot of good baseball in there.
Danny, sorry.
Joe, whether or not you want to name officially how you do the lady, I